I met with many recruiters, and frankly, I mean, respectfully, the agenda is pretty straightforward. The incentive's pretty straightforward. They are opportunistically trying to move their own needle by working with somebody to move firms. Your perspective is different. You are a bona fide, legitimate coach and consultant, and you are at peace with what decision they make, whether it's with you and your environment or someone else. You want to leave a profit in their lives and help them come to their own conclusions of what's in their best interest, their team's best interest, and their client's best interest. And I think that's emerging in this conversation. I hope everybody really grabs onto that. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's talk about due diligence a little bit more in detail. What is your format, your process? Give me some of the questions you ask to help somebody do their due diligence and land in an environment that makes the most sense.
Absolutely. So I always tell advisors when I talk to them, you have about a dozen to 15 questions you're going to ask me. There's about 50 that you should be. And that's the reality of it, is that as an advisor, if you're looking to transition, be inquisitive and be humble. Make sure that you are aligning yourself with someone that is asking questions for you. Keep in mind that in the recruiting space, an advisor, the reason why I've always taken a consultative approach is because I understand the gravity of what an advisor changing firms means. For them, this is a once in a lifetime event, maybe twice. For me or a recruiter, it's a Thursday, right? It's just another day. And it gives you as a recruiter the insight of what it really takes. So you have to really be a steward to that advisor in making sure that they have the questions that they should. For me, I built out a roadmap for advisors that I send them, and it's a checklist. And how I positioned it was I took all of my years throughout this business, combined that with what I knew when it came to recruiting and moving teams, and said, if I'm sitting in your shoes, here are the questions that I have, but what are the questions that I should answer? Should I be asking, I should say. And those questions are very, very detailed. You need to know things like, it's easy. The easy ones are, okay, I want to know what my economics are going to be. Okay, great. But what platforms? How are those platforms run? Does my product list match up with the product list of the company that I'm going to? Maybe I have a lot of alts. The alternatives exist on that platform.
Right.
So a lot of the advisors will come with some just generic ideas of, okay, well, I run this type of model. Can I do that there? Okay, well, maybe you outsource your models. Do they have agreements with those folks? There's a lot of just the little nitty gritty blocking and tackling stuff that are just the building blocks, the gears that make the business go that you have to check into. Next thing, well, what about technology? Well, technology is huge. Right, that's something you're going to be dealing with every day. So you got to look at things like economics. You got to look at things like technology. You got to look at their compliance. One of the things that I always say when I host advisors to our firm is I will say, I am going to introduce you to someone, and I am so excited to introduce you to this team. And there is no salesperson in the history of financial services that has ever been excited to say this. I cannot wait for you to meet our compliance department. It's never happened. I'm the only person that ever says that. And the reality is I am. You want to make sure that the firm you're going to is going to allow you to connect in a way with your clients that you want to. You want to know what those limitations are. What can I do? What can I not do? So technology, economics, compliance, and the really big one in there is going to be resources, business resources. To maybe tie this in to advisors feeling like they've outgrown their firm, I think that there's been a change in the industry over the past 25 years. I think back to some firms back in the 90s and very early part of this decade existed and then went away at the early part of 2000, that if you look at the model back then of how firms operated, it was a hub and spoke model. And that hub was the advisor. And the firm operated around the advisor and pushed all those resources down to that advisor. And there are some advisors that'll be listening to this that will understand that when I say that that model has changed a little bit at some places, not all, but there are places that it's changed. And a lot of advisors that come to me feel that they've been in the business for 20 years, 25, 30 years, and they remember that old model. But now the model that they feel is that the hub is now the firm and the advisor operates around the firm in hopes that the resources get fed out. So you can change firms, but what you better be sure of is that you're going to a partner versus a parking lot. And the difference is a partner has the old hub and spoke model where you as the advisor sit at the center. You are the center of the firm's business and attention, and they feed you the resources. Anyone can custody your assets. Anybody can do that, but that's a parking lot. So that's really what I walk advisors through, understanding the basics of the business, the economics, the compliance, but then it really comes down to business resources and aligning yourself with a firm that really empowers you to be the best version of who you can be.